Hello students, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Dr. Vidya Patil, working as Assistant Professor of English in Government First Grade Women's College, Bidar. Today's video is another part of the series of videos related to environmental science. Environmental science is a subject which has been prescribed as a compulsory subject in most of the universities. So come, let's find out what is there to learn today. So students, today we'll be taking up another new concept under environmental science. Today's topic is structure and functions of the ecosystem. In the last video, we have understood what is an ecosystem, what are the components of an ecosystem, and what are the types of an ecosystem. Now, in continuation to that, today we'll try to understand what is the structure of an ecosystem and what are the functions of an ecosystem. Now, the ecosystem, as we have already seen, is all the living and non-living things together and the interaction which takes place between the living and non-living aspects of the earth. Now, also we have all discussed about the two main components of the ecosystem, which is the biotic component and the abiotic component. The biotic component includes the living organisms and the abiotic component includes the non-living aspects. Now, in an ecosystem, we have to understand that when there is an interaction between the biotic and the abiotic components, there is distribution of energy. Also, the various climatic conditions and the surroundings which affect that particular environment. So, biotic and abiotic components are interrelated and interdependent. They depend on each other for their survival. It is an open system and energy and the components can flow through the boundaries. That is, there is interchange or exchange which is continuously taking place among the different aspects of the ecosystem. From the flow chart, which is present on your screens, you can see that how the ecosystem is divided into the abiotic component and the biotic component. The abiotic component in turn consists of climatic factors and adaptive factors. So basically things like rain, light, wind, soil, minerals, etc. These all together form the abiotic components. Now the biotic components basically consists of producers, consumers and decomposers. Consumers in turn can be of different types. So from this flowchart, I think now it is clear that ecosystem consists of two main components, abiotic and biotic. Abiotic is the non-living aspect and biotic is the living aspect. Now, under the biotic components, we find that the different kinds of living organisms are usually of three types. They can be producers, consumers, or decomposers. Producers are usually autotrophic organisms. That is, they can be green plants and certain types of bacteria. Producers are those living organisms which can produce their own food. Consumers are heterotrophic organisms, that is, herbivores and carnivores. Herbivores, animals which feed on plants, and carnivores are those animals which feed on other animals. So, animals which feed on other organisms for their food are known as consumers. Then we have another group of living organisms which are known as decomposers. Decomposers are generally saprophytic organisms or detrivores. Saprophytic organisms are generally which eat or which are found in garbage and rubbish, and detritivores which feed on dead bodies of organisms or which feed on organic wastes. So it is the decomposers which help in the decomposition of dead living organisms and convert it into nutrients. So biotic components consist of three main kinds of living organisms. They are producers, consumers, and decomposers. Producers can produce their own food, so they are usually all kinds of plants and bacteria. Consumers are those animals which depend on other organisms for food. They can be herbivores or carnivores. Decomposers are those organisms which help in the decomposition of dead and decaying living organisms, and they help in the in the production of or conversion of living organisms into nutrients. So I think this diagram will make it clear to you of what are the different kinds of consumers. We'll be studying this in detail in the next video. So we'll just skip this. If you get an idea of what are the different kinds of consumers, I think that is more than enough here. Now coming to the abiotic component. The abiotic factors are usually all the non-living things which we find in nature. They play a very important part in the lives of all organisms. Some of the examples of the abiotic factors are wind, sunlight, soil, temperature, climate, water, etc. Now, usually abiotic conditions have to be maintained in a stable manner, and which is very important for sustaining life. Most of the biotic components depend on the abiotic components to stay alive. So again, from this diagram we can see that wind, sunlight, soil, temperature, atmosphere, water, they are the different aspects of or different kinds of the abiotic factors. Now here is a small comparison so that you can easily understand the difference between the biotic factors and the abiotic factors. So biotic factors are living things, abiotic factors are non-living things. Examples for biotic factors are animals, plants, fungi, bacteria, any kind of living thing. The examples for abiotic factors are forest fires, water, climate, habitat, soil, minerals, any human activity. So these are the abiotic factors. The main categories for the biotic factors are producers, consumers, and decomposers. The main abiotic factors are atmosphere, chemical elements, sunlight, temperature, wind, and water. So now I think you have got a good idea about what are the biotic and abiotic factors and how they are interdependent and interrelated to each other. Now let us try to understand what are the main or important functions of the ecosystem. Now, the most important function of the ecosystem is productivity. It regulates the essential ecological processes, supports life systems, and renders stability. That is, it is the ecosystem which maintains a balance in the world around us. It is the ecosystem which supports all living organisms, and it is the ecosystem which is necessary for all the processes which are taking place on earth. The second important function is nutrient cycling. That is, it is the ecosystem which is responsible for cycling of nutrients between the biotic and the abiotic components. So the nutrients are transferred from the biotic to the abiotic components. Third important function of the ecosystem is decomposition. It is through decomposition that a balance is maintained among the different trophic levels which are found in the ecosystem. And lastly, but most importantly, the major function of ecosystem is in the exchange of energy. It is the abiotic components which help in the synthesis of organic components, and this leads to exchange of energy. So, students, you must have realized now that how important the ecosystem is for our survival. Without the ecosystem, we cannot think of a life on planet Earth. So, in today's video, we have understood what is the structure of the ecosystem and what are the important functions of the ecosystem. If you have liked this video, then please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you, students.